Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti from AnthonyMorganti.com, and this is episode 151 of Photo Critiques. And in this episode, I'm pleased to critique the work of GK. GK sent me in some really compelling images. This first one, we got this beautiful lilac tree, I think. Really pretty, nice. But the trouble is, it's in such a busy scene. There's really a lot of stuff on top of each other here. We have palm trees, we have the buildings back here. One little tip, if you're photographing and there's buildings in the background or a sign in the background, if you have partial letters, that bugs people who are viewing the picture. For our minds as human beings, we want to read what this says. And since it's kind of, it's some type of college obviously, but it's obscured, we can't read it. So try to get either all the letters, all the signs out of the shot or completely in the shot so people could read them. But this is really a busy scene. You have a really pretty object, pretty subject, but it's in a busy scene. It's hard to photograph. You really got to work the scene, be imaginative, maybe get real close, shoot up with a wide angle lens, get the sky, eliminate some of these buildings, different different ideas to move around. If you really want to photograph the tree or bush, you got to really work this scene and try to eliminate some of these distractions. One thing, there's a few zoo shots in here, and you did a real fine job. The thing with the zoo, when you photograph animals at the zoo, if you really want to be over the top, great shots, is you got to make the viewer think you weren't at the zoo. So the viewer is looking at the shot, and they think you're really out in Australia, photographing kangaroos or wherever wallabies are. You're photographing wallabies, whatever this is. So the fence here obviously is a dead giveaway that it's at a zoo. So you want to try to get yourself in a position where you're photographing the animal so that it doesn't look like you don't see any really man-made objects that gives away that it's in the zoo. Focus and stuff here real tight, really nice job. I think the clarity's up a little too high. His fur just looks a little just too bristly. I think from the clarity it looks a little unnatural, so bring the clarity down a little bit. And you got to work the scene. Maybe there's another kangaroo or wallaby somewhere in this enclosure that you could get an angle on where we're not seeing the fence and maybe we're just seeing a tree or something like that. This is a nice shot. Now we could see the chicken wire back here. It's blurry though, but I think this a much better shot. It's really blurred, and you did a great job on focus, real tight focus on the eye, and that was hard to do at 400mm lens, so it's really a tough shot to achieve. I think though, if you just crop this and you had the bird a little, eliminate most of this background where we see the chicken wire, it would be really a great image then. This shot's not as good as the last one, only because of the focus. As you can see, the eye here is blurry, and I always mention you really got to focus on the eye. So in this case, the beak is in good focus, and his chest feathers are in focus. So your lens front focused a little bit. The focus point was down here, or over here, not here. What you got to do, I think, if possible, use a smaller aperture when you're doing this with animals that are moving around. I know the light isn't always cooperating, and you might have to boost your ISO a little higher than you want to. But you're at 400mm. It's hard to focus as it is because it's such a narrow angle of view. Any little movement of your camera and everything jumps around, and it's hard to keep in focus. So you got to be do it on motor drive and try to take off a lot of shots, and usually you could get some of them that'll be really in much tighter focus, smaller aperture too if possible. It's a really nice shot. Excellent focus on this shot. A little busy on the sides here, probably not really needed to be there, but it's a cool shot. I would say maybe take another one vertically. I think that would have been a more compelling shot. Would have eliminated some of this stuff on the side, zoomed in a little bit and take it vertically. I think would have been a cool shot. This shot here is just really over processed. It really too much saturation, too much vibrance. And the problem is when you really boost saturation and vibrance like this, it will look even different from monitor to monitor. And the way you could tell is if you turn on soft proofing over here, or you just you click that box. You could also just hit the S key on your keyboard. It will toggle it on and off. And you go over to this panel here, And you can see this monitor, there's a little monitor over there, and when I hover over that, that's every color in there that my monitor isn't displaying correctly at the moment. You could take this image to another computer and it would be different ones, and then to a third computer and it would be different ones. So it's always going to look different from computer monitor to computer monitor. The other thing is over here we have this like piece of paper. I hover over that. In this I use the sRGB color space because I don't print my own photographs. I send them to Bay Photo Lab. So my output is a JPEG with the sRGB photo space, color space, I'm sorry, that I send to Bay Photo because that's what they request, they want. Now when I hover over that, you can see all that's turning red in the shot. That isn't going to be rendered right in the sRGB color space. So when I make a JPEG, it's not going to look like this. It's not going to print right. So you really have to be careful with how much you really boost vibrance and saturation. Now this is a critique. I'm not really teaching you how to use soft proofing. I just kind of gave you an idea of why this particular image won't print right and won't look right on everybody's monitor. Everyone's monitor, it's going to look different. Two things: you have to calibrate your monitor if you're really into printing, especially if you're into really sharing the images on the web. That's old-fashioned. On the internet, if you're going to share your images on the internet, you really calibrate your monitor. That way you know that you're right. You know, if someone is seeing purple when you made it blue, you know it's really blue, that their monitor's out of calibration, not yours. But the main thing is when you go to print it, if yours isn't calibrated and it really is blue and you wanted it purple, then it's going to be wrong when it gets printed. And the same thing goes you know, for if you're printing your own. Over here in soft proofing, now as I mentioned, you would have different papers that you would output it to. Like this drop down would have all the different papers that you could output this to, and then it would tell you for that paper that those colors won't they're out of the gamut, the color gamut that you're using. So you have to adjust the image so that it will print properly. So that was a lot of words. I'm not sure if I said anything. So mainly what I'm trying to say is there's just too much vibration and too much saturation in this shot. It's a really nice shot. I like this one a lot. And this even reminds me more of Madagascar. Now we could tell it's a zoo. You know, we got the wood here, but it's a really cool shot. I don't know. You're at 400 millimeters again. You did a really nice job on focus because it really is hard to focus a really big lens like this. So really well done. This one too is a little bit too much vibrance and saturation, maybe a little bit too much clarity, but it's a cool shot. It's a little dark, like we're not really seeing into the his eyes a little bit, and we're not seeing any detail through here. If I hover over here, you can see all that turns blue. That means it's clipped. It's just absolute black. There's no detail in that shot, in that area. So if we pull shadows up, you could see that it will be less. There's still some there, a lot there actually, but there's a little less. It just looks very unnatural though because of the clarity and the saturation. Now it's not the raw file. I don't have the original raw file, so I'm just making it blurry when I do that. It's making it look really like we are on acid or something here. So you need the original raw file and just dial back clarity a little bit and dial back saturation a lot and vibrance, and it would look more natural. And also bring shadows up so we could see more detail. We could see his eyes now, whereas before, as you could tell, we really couldn't see his eyes. We just saw a little white there. This is a nice shot, composition-wise, very nice. The focus is a little off. We're very blurry in here. Now again, you're at 400 millimeters on the lens. So it's really hard to focus, especially a small, small butterfly like this at 400 millimeters. Very tough to do. So usually macro lenses are around 100 millimeters, and you could get in, relatively close, and every little twitch you won't be really jumping all over the place, and it's easier to focus. This is a really nice composition. I like this shot a lot. Again, it's a little dark. As you come over here and I go over here, you can see all that blue area is being clipped. So come in and we'll bring shadows up a little bit. And I think it brings it out a little more. It gives you a little more detail in through here. Maybe that's a little too high, but you know, you get the idea what I'm talking about. A lot of this too could be happening if your monitor isn't calibrated. What looks dark on my calibrated monitor might look correct on your monitor, and other people viewing this critique, it might look okay on their monitor, but really my monitor is calibrated and I keep it calibrated, so I know it's a little too dark. And when you're gonna go print these images and they're dark like that, they don't look right. They just come out, the black areas that are clipped are just black ink, and there's no detail there, so it doesn't look like a photograph anymore. It just looks like your printer malfunctioned. So you really got to be careful of that. And it's calibration things, tools for your monitor. It's a little thing that you hang in front of the monitor. It has a sensor on it. It has software with it. You run the software and it will actually almost by itself calibrates your monitor. And they suggest you do it once a week. I do it once a month. And because your monitor drifts over time, the colors shift, the brightness and contrast shift over time. So you'd run that, do it like they say once a week, and you'll know your monitor is always in tip-top shape. It's a really nice composition too. I really like this one. I like this too. You work the scene. Look at all these different shots. This is excellent. Very well done. Very nice exposure on these. I don't think anything's too dark. You had some harsh light, but you dealt with it real nice. And really nice shots. Really nice shots. And that's it for GK. Thank you very much for sharing your images with us. I hope I made a little bit of sense with that soft proofing. That's really something I haven't covered in my Lightroom tutorials, but I think I will soon. I'll talk about soft proofing. I didn't really explain it at all here, so I'm sorry if I confused anyone about it. But what it comes down to is it gives you an idea of what, after you adjust an image, whether or not it's going to print the way you're looking at it on your monitor. That's pretty much it. Or whatever, it's going to go to an output device the way you're looking at it, or it's going to get changed, and what parts of it will be changed. So the output device could be a printer with a certain type of paper. It could be a JPEG file for the internet, so stuff like that. That gives you the idea of what you adjusted is actually going to look that way whenever you output it, export it. So again, that's it for GK. Thank you very much for sharing your work with us. I'd like to thank everyone that watches all my videos. I really do appreciate it. If you guys have time, go over to my website, anthonymorganti.com, and see all the photography stuff I have over there. And I'd really appreciate it if you guys subscribe to my YouTube channel. And that's it for now. I'll talk to you guys soon.